Have you ever walked into a room and quietly wondered, would anyone even notice if I wasn't here? Or maybe you've given everything to a job, a friendship, or a relationship and still felt like you could be swapped out at any moment, like you're temporary, like you're just replaceable. If that hits close to home, I want you to stay with me for the next few minutes, because what most people don't realize is that this feeling, as painful as it is, doesn't mean you lack value. It actually reveals something deeply specific about how your mind works. And once you understand the psychology behind it, everything starts to make a little more sense. First, you were taught to earn your place, not simply occupy it. Psychology shows that people who feel replaceable often grew up in environments where love or acceptance felt conditional. Maybe praise only came when you performed. Maybe you learned early on that being good enough was something you had to prove, not something you simply were. Research in attachment theory tells us that when children don't receive consistent, unconditional validation, they internalize a belief that their value depends on their usefulness. So as an adult, you keep performing, you keep giving, because somewhere deep down, you're still trying to earn permanent belonging. The strength here? You are incredibly hardworking and devoted. You just need to redirect that energy toward people and places that see your worth without a scorecard. Second, you have a highly sensitive self-awareness. Here's something most people don't consider. People who feel replaceable are often the most self-aware people in the room. Research in social psychology suggests that individuals with high self-monitoring tendencies are constantly evaluating how they fit into a group dynamic. You notice when someone seems distant. You pick up on subtle shifts in tone. You read the room better than almost anyone. The problem is that same awareness turns inward and starts asking, am I enough here? That question isn't a flaw. It's your emotional intelligence working overtime. The reframe? You're not insecure, you're tuned in. You just need to learn to trust what you feel without using it against yourself. Third, you confuse being humble with being invisible. There's a quiet pattern that shows up again and again in people who feel replaceable. They downplay their contributions. They say things like, oh, anyone could have done that, or I just got lucky. Psychology calls this self-effacement, and while humility is genuinely a beautiful quality, too much of it can make you disappear, even to yourself. Studies on self-perception show that when we consistently minimize our role in positive outcomes, we actually start to believe we don't have one. You were never meant to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. Owning your value isn't arrogance, it's honesty. Fourth, you've experienced real moments of being overlooked. Let's be honest about something. Sometimes this feeling isn't just in your head. Research on workplace dynamics and social belonging shows that certain environments genuinely undervalue quiet, consistent contributors. People who show up every day, do the work, keep the peace, they're often the last to be celebrated and the first to be taken for granted. If you've lived that experience, your nervous system learned to expect it. But here's what's important to separate. Being overlooked in one chapter of your life does not mean you are invisible by nature. It means you were in the wrong room. The right people will not make you feel like a placeholder. Fifth, you struggle to believe in your own irreplaceability. Psychology shows that people with low self-worth often engage in what researchers call downward social comparison in reverse, meaning instead of looking at others to feel better, they look at others and think, they could do what I do, but better. You talk yourself out of your own uniqueness. But here's the truth that research on human individuality keeps confirming. No two people process the world the same way. No one has your exact combination of experiences, instincts, reactions, and care. Your perspective is not interchangeable. The version of you that shows up with your specific way of listening, problem-solving, loving, or creating cannot be replicated. That's not a motivational phrase, that's just factually true. Feeling replaceable is not proof that you are replaceable. It's proof that you've carried a story for a long time, one that was probably handed to you before you were old enough to question it. But stories can be rewritten. The fact that you're even here, listening, reflecting, trying to understand yourself more deeply, that's not something everyone does. You are not a placeholder. You never were. If this gave you something to think about, consider subscribing to MindNest Psychology. We explore the quiet patterns behind human behavior.